Welcome back in the final session for Unit 6 on networks. I explore users, groups and permissions. As you know, whenever you are working on a network, you as a user, you have certain files you can store in your own home directory, which is named after your username. And you have certain permissions, but you can't do everything you want to do. Yes, there are certain restrictions that apply. The first thing I want to do is I want to have a look at the current setting of users. So I find this in the etc directory. So I do a change directory and I have a look at etc. And then in there I use my cat and it's in pass wd, and in here I find the users. Most of it in here is not really interesting. This is basically the system that is recorded in here. For instance, you might have some Postgres. Here it is, Postgres user, that's SQL, so that's a database. I'm here, so that's captain, and you see bin set as hedge means you have remote control in your in this case. The user password is X because you don't want to display this in here. It's actually stored in a different file, but it's encrypted. Yeah. I think that's also on the notes somewhere. This is the user ID, and then you have group membership. By default, if you start a user, this user has its own group, so every user has at least one group membership by default. That's the normal setting. You can then of course specify, for instance, permissions based on certain user groups. Yeah, so that's quite a common way for managing a network. So that's kind of useful. Next, I would like now to start adding some users. There are different ways to add users. So one way is to add a user without a home directory, and one is a user with a home directory. Now I use a proper setup. I want to add a user with a home directory. I personally, as a captain, can't do this. I have to change to the root user. I can either change it or just use sudo to start the command, and then I specify add user, and a name I just use now Tom. Yeah, so that's fine. So Tom already exists. Okay. Alright, I haven't noticed that. Is Tom already somewhere running around here? I haven't seen actually Tom. Have I seen Tom? So Tom should be then somewhere hiding and existing. Yeah, possible that I created Tom before. So Tom is already there. Yeah. The group, because I used the group, that's why. Yeah, so I have to read this more carefully. The group Tom already exists. The thing is, when you introduce a user, the user can be killed easily, but the group might exist, because I think I created a group before in the exercise which has the group name Tom. So well, what we can do is we could get rid of this group. That's fine, let's do that. So that we do sudo and I delete group and I use, in this case, group Tom, delete that, and we are done. Okay, that should do it, just in case that's an issue. Let me just have a little look again. We are still in etc, so that's fine. And let's go back into sudo, and we have add user, and we use, oops, that was a bit too quick, sudo add user Tom. Okay, now it worked. Now that's the thing, because default wise the username group name would be identical. Yeah, so it runs into a problem if I don't specify any alternatives that the group is already defined because I used it before. I didn't notice. But now you see the user Tom is added. The new group for Tom is the group Tom as a default. And the new user is now with the group Tom, so that's fine. The home directory is added as home Tom. Then it's asking for a password for this user. I just hopefully type in something I can remember. Full name, Tom Smith. Always use Tom Smith, that's fine. Room number, phone number, I don't care, and that's all correct. Okay, so we are hopefully done. Good, let's have another look at the file, the passwd file, and just check. Yeah, now we have it, so we have Tom in here. Password is X'd out. We have the user ID, which is 1001, a group ID, so that's fine, and we there have the name as well, yeah, Tom Smith, so that's pretty good, and further information, yeah, in this case just the room number. Okay, so that will do. Good. What we now could do is we could switch user, and we can log in as Tom. We try that. We need our Tom password, which I hopefully remember. And now I'm Tom. Isn't it nice? I can change directory, and I would be pwd in my home directory Tom. So that's pretty good. I can have a look at my home directory. There's not anything in there. I can do a simple touch command, throw in a new file. Should be txt. Here we are, ls -l, have a look, and here we are, and that's my file. As you can see, it's stored in my folder, and it's yeah, you see here permission read write. This refers to Tom. Others can read it but can't write it. Yeah, so that's in here. Okay, that's fine. Good, we can also do a little tree if we want to, but there's not anything exciting going on here. Yeah, remove that again. I don't need it at the moment, so that's fine. Good, I'm done with Tom. I would like to go back to being myself, so I switch user again, and I move into Captain. I hopefully know my password. Here we are, and we are back in our Captain mode, so that's pretty good. Okay, the next thing I want to try is I want to maybe yeah, get rid of this Tom. I don't like Tom anymore. What to do is I have to again go into sudo to get this permission for that. And I can remove now my user, del user, and you see here the option remove home, because I have created also a home directory and Tom. Let me just try that. Okay, so that's fine. Removing. Okay, so that's interesting when we use a Tom has no more members. And here you see an interesting thing. User Tom is currently used by process 6529. So basically there are some processes going on at the moment which we still have to stop. The thing is, I logged in as Tom and then I switched user. Now what we can do is we can do the following. We can do sudo and we simply kill this process. Yeah. So pkill, kill, and focus on anything linked to user, and you see it's now killed. So that's one way to do it. Yeah, and so now sometimes, which is kind of funny, you see that here happening, the command line goes a bit crazy. I don't know exactly why this is happening, but if you just close your terminal and open a new one, this should sort itself out. But now we killed this process. We go back to sudo and we try this again. We try our delete user, remove home, Tom. We need our password, and then we should be done. That's it. Good. In here we change directory, and I just want to have another look at pass.wd, and now Tom is gone. Yeah, so that's pretty good to know. Good. So we have done all of that. The next thing is we could introduce new groups. Yeah, so you can add groups, and you see this also the commands on the slides. And you can put users into new groups. So that's a possibility using the user mod with the option G. So that's a possibility, and also you can of course delete groups as well. It doesn't really think, I don't think there are any further issues there to discuss, so I just leave it for you to play around a little bit. The other thing which I want to look at is I want to look at the permissions. Yeah, so if we go back to our home directory, have a little look around. So that's my home directory. I just now start writing a file. Yeah, it doesn't matter, any file txt. And if you use the ls command and the list option, you get here these standard permissions. Yeah, of course it's not a file I can execute, so you won't find an X here. It doesn't execute anything. In other cases where there is execution is possible, you see an X. So that's the standard description of permissions. It's first for the user or the owner, and then it's for groups, for group memberships, and then it goes to any other user. So that's basically the default here. What you can do is you can change, in this case, the permissions. Yeah, so you can modify permissions, and that's done using the change mod command. So that's it, is change mod. I just have a little look at this because there are many different options here, which I and most people don't remember really. So here we are. Oops, it's not mat, it's manual. Manual change mod, here we are. Good, so this basically gives you several options to change permissions. So you see the options further below, and the basic things, as we discussed already, is your write and read permissions and execute permissions. And then you also have different permissions. You see this in this particular form here of adding permissions and removing permissions. This is simply specified with a plus or a minus. So here it's actually quite nicely shown, the syntax. So you have plus and minus. This refers here to different types of users and groups as well. So that in combination would give you various options to for instance write for any user onto a particular file. Yeah, we can just for instance try this here. So at the moment, if we go back into ls and have a look, we see this file here. I can write on this, but other users as a default they can't. So potentially I could say I would like to change that. So I could use change mod and then specify that this might refer to all users. So that's of course very generous. Plus is for adding permissions, and I want to add a write permission. And then I specify for what I want to apply this, and that's for my file txt. And I execute that. Okay. I look at this one more time, and what you now see if you compare the permissions, so this line here, you have write, read, and read, and now you permit for anyone else, also to write on this as well. Now that is, for instance, required if you have a co-worker that also wants to have access to your file and wants to add something to it. Yeah, and of course you could then maybe after you do all the modifications to the file, again do a change mod, and you might say, I now want to remove that privilege, and let's see how that works. And again we can go back and check what happened, and you see now I actually, for everyone, which I shouldn't have done, actually only for others, I removed the permission to write. Yeah, so that's the standard setting. So you specify whether you want to add or whether you want to remove a permission, and what type of permission you want to add or remove. So in our case that's the write permission, and then you talk about the type of user this should refer to. Yeah, so for instance now I remove this for everyone, but maybe that's not really what I wanted. Actually I want to have myself as a user the permission to write on this file, and I can try to modify that. And again, when I look back, I know I'm back to the original one, so now I can write here on this file and others can only read. Good, so that's all I wanted to show. I now remove that and we are back to normal. So that's quite useful about permissions. We have covered now a good amount of stuff. We are actually now ready to go into further exploitation. So this is quite a long unit. It goes into all sorts of issues around networks, some further tools which are very useful, some important ways to fix problems that emerge. So we talked about these issues in quite a bit of detail. So that's all I wanted to discuss, and I see you in the next session.